And I just wanted to pop on the screen here for a minute and say hello to everybody. How's everyone? I hope you're doing well. Welcome from sunny Florida. That's where I'm coming to you from live. So I wanted to just give you a quick little video here for a minute before we get rolling into our full evening. And of course, today's a special day. It's the 12/12. So this is the reason I wanted to do this today on 12/12. We have a lot going on. I'm going to cover all that this evening, or wherever you are located. Obviously, we're going to cover all that different information and get you started and moving forward. So tonight, what I want to do is we're going to go through really clearing your energy and also talking about 2023 and also talking about 2024. So we're going to get into that whole thing tonight as we go forward. If you know me or you've worked with me before, you know that I like to get right into it. I don't like to waste a lot of time. I like to come right in and give you a lot of content to make sure we get you in and out of here. And you leave here tonight with information that you can use right away. So I want to give you some things that you're going to be able to do. We're going to talk about balancing energy, clearing energy. We talk about a number of different topics here and getting us ready, as I said, for 2024. If you're not familiar with me, I've been doing this work for a long time. I actually did my first event over in 1992, actually. This is a long time ago. And looking at my journey was really a journey that took a long period of time. I know certain people who do this work, they'll say things to me like, I got like a certain message or something came to me. That was not the case with me. It didn't work out that way. Mine was more of a journey of time, moving through time and learning as I went. I lost my dad when I was young. At 12 years old. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Lived there most of my life. We lived 11 years in Southern California. Now we moved over to Florida last year. And, was aggressive, was always interested in personal development, personal growth, improving myself. So that was kind of part of my life, part of what I always did. And I wanted to, I always felt a little bit kind of I shouldn't say insecure, I guess is the right word, because I didn't have a great education. I didn't go to college. So I went out and I started to read and learn. And I was always interested in personal development and personal growth and improving myself. And went out into the business world, was very entrepreneurial, ended up going through a few bankruptcies by the time I was 30. And then started to really realize it was an inner game. I realized I was doing all the outside stuff and I needed to get into the inner workings, my inner self, and understand what was going on. That began with therapy. I started there, started to learn a lot about psychology, how your mind works, how your brain works. And from there, that led me into energy work and metaphysical principles. And these were things I never actually thought I would be getting into. Started to really do it for myself and eventually ended up helping other people with it. It wasn't really, like I said, something I thought about. It just kind of happened. And that's usually kind of how these things work out most of the time, or not most of the time, it's certainly in my case. So I started to, like I said, learn how to clear this energy and do this work internally, and then start to share it with other people, and eventually became, my thing, so to speak, or what I was doing. So that's what we're going to talk about. I just wanted to give you a quick overview. I've written several books. I've traveled all around. I've spoken all over the place. And obviously now we have this great technology that we can do this at home and hang out and see each other and have a good time. So I'm going to go to the slides here. I'm going to go here because that's where all the content is. And I want to make sure you're focused there. I just wanted to jump on for a minute, say hello, and we're ready to roll. So let's get into it. I like to get into it right away. Like I said, I'm not big on fluff. I think that's a New York thing. If you're a New Yorker, you're not big on fluff. You're big on getting into details. So let's get into, first, let me give you a quick agenda, what we're going to do here tonight, how this is going to work, what this is going to look like. So I want to do a quick review of 2023 first, just kind of take a look at, the year we're coming out of and what that looks like. Then we're going to get into the 12/12 portal, which is happening today. And we'll get into that as well, and the rest of this month. So we want to look at the rest of December as far as what is December going to look like, as far as, what is that going to look like for you and for all of us. And then also we'll get into 2024. So what can I expect in 2024? What is that going to look like? And then what about your personal journey in 2024? We also want to talk about that. So we'll talk about 2024 overview. And we'll also talk about 2024 as far as how that is going to affect you personally. Then we're going to get into how to balance and clear your energy. So that's going to be an important factor and what we'll focus on here today. And finally, we will get into a new program that I have I'm going to be doing in January. If you want to take this work to a deeper level, I will talk to you a little bit about that at the end and see if that's something you're interested in. Certainly I can get you some more information about that as well. So let's get rolling here. Let's talk about 2023 first. We're going to talk about last year, or this, it's actually, we're still in it, but it's coming to an end right now. So let's talk a little bit about the year in review. So every year, everything that happens, and I just want to start with this because this kind of gives us the basic foundation of what's going on. Everything here in this world, we have what we call yin yang energy. So there's positive, negative energy to everything that's going on here in this world. So we want to understand that that's how it works. So every time you do something positive, you create the negative, and vice versa. Something negative happens, you create the positive. Of course, positive, negative is the way that we look at the world because of the way we're conditioned. But basically, it's about keeping energy balanced, and that's really what we're looking at as we go through this process. We want to look at keeping our energy in a balance, and we're going to talk about that tonight as well. So just remember, as I'm going through this and I'm going through these pieces, we want to understand that everything is about the balance of the two sides, because that's going to be important as we go forward in the world and as we go forward in life. So let's take a look at this year. I keep saying last year because I feel like we're already kind of into the next year already. But let's take a look at this year, or the end of this year. And this year, 2023, and what I love to do is use numerology, because numerology is very powerful as far as how we use the numerology to understand the vibration of the year, because every year has a specific number, and the number is broken down in the numerology sense. And what we do is we take the numbers and we break them down to a single digit. So when you look at this year, we do 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3. We break it down. It becomes a 7. So this was a 7 year that we are coming out of right now. As I said, every year has its own energy. Now, one of the things about numerology, when we look at the numbers that way, is that the numbers have a different look to them, or a different, we would call, shape, right? We would call it a different look or a different shape. That's the way it would look. So look at the number 7. So the way the number 7 is set up, the number 7 is a line going down, which means it bridges up and down. It is also open to the left. So the left, we look at the left as the past, because we read, think about how we read. We read left to right, right? We read from the left to the right. So when you look at the left, when you look at the 7, it opens up to the left-hand side, and that is where it goes. So that's part of the aspect of the 7. The other thing about the 7 is it stands on one leg, right? It just stands on that one little piece at the bottom. So it has kind of a wobbly vibe to it because it's not solid. So it kind of has a little wobble to it. So this might have been a year that you felt like that. You felt off balance. You felt like things were not, kind of, I don't want to say on point, but, things were kind of a little all over the place. So there's a lot of ups and downs, or you felt that feeling. That's kind of the element of this 7. So that's kind of what the 7 looks like. Now, as I said earlier, all the numbers, everything has what we would call the positive, negative. So let's talk a little bit about the positive, negative of the 7. So the 7 positives are introspection. Introspection is a big part of the 7. Very philosophical, very reflective, and it likes to be isolated or quiet. So this was a year really that you might have found yourself really looking at the past to a degree, and looking at your life and evaluating where you are, and desiring to reflect and desiring to be a little more quiet. So if you notice that this year, and again, it might not have been 100% of what you did or what was happening in your life, but if you look at it and say, well, was that something that you noticed happening with you this year? This was that type of year that you were kind of, like I said, looking back, trying to balance yourself and get yourself into a different position. that might have been, or just like reflecting, wow, I'm thinking about what happened. I'm thinking about where I am right now, where I got to in my life at this point. Now, the negative side of it is, as I said, it's unbalanced. Also could be very isolated, like you really didn't want to see anybody. That's part of it. And there's nothing wrong with being quiet or wanting to be, kind of do my own thing. But, we could get a little too far with that. We could take it a little far. And that could be, could take us out of the game a little and really isolate ourselves. Also, there's a little judgment and condescension to the 7, like, looking at people in a certain way or feeling people, how are they in that position, or, kind of being in that overall sense of judgment, kind of being in that different space. So this is the year we're coming out of. This is the 7th year. Just want to give you a quickie here on that, just so and maybe take a minute later and say, yeah, well, did I think about that? And was I reflective this year? Was I sitting back? Have I gone through certain changes that I want to reflect upon? That would be this year. So before we get into next year, let's talk about today. Today's 12/12. So today is the final portal opening of 2023. It's also a new moon on the same day. So that's a lot of vibes coming in here on this day. So just so you know, energy portals, we have energy portals opening all the time, every month. They're always opening, they're always going through, they're always it's always happening, but some of them are more subtle. Some of them are more intense. So for example, when we have these double digit, this 12/12 portal opening, this was a very powerful portal opening that we had here today. And these are going to be the more powerful, stronger ones. So you may have been feeling this energy already before we even got to that point. Before we even got to this 12/12, you might have started feeling the symptoms, as we call them, of the high energy and high frequency that's coming in. And we also have a new moon, which is about being new and refreshing ourselves. So these are things that happened here today. This is what's part of this 12/12. Now, last month, we had the 11/11, which was actually even a more powerful portal than this one. So this is part of the higher frequency that we're going into. This is, again, the final portal that we're going to have of this year, 2023. Now, tomorrow, just to give you a heads up, we're going into what's called a Mercury retrograde, which starts tomorrow, which is the 13th, and that's going to go all the way to the 1st of January. So basically the rest of this month, right to the end of the year. And what that means is the 12/12 is about looking at change, looking at where you want to go. The new moon is about refreshing yourself, moving yourself forward, taking yourself to a higher place into a different direction potentially in your life, or just building on where you are. But it's about elevation. Really, that's where we are. The retrograde slows everything down. So when we look at it, basically, what we're looking at here from now till the end of this year is we're looking at a slowdown, meaning you don't want to get crazy between now and the end of the year. You don't want to do anything. If you're working on something, that's fine. It's a great time to really kind of look at where you want to go for 2024. And also, it's a great time to do a little due diligence. Maybe you want to look into what you're thinking of doing, do a little homework, do a little research, but it's not a time to pedal to the metal, so to speak. It's not a time to go crazy. It's a time to slow down. So take that. Obviously, it is the holidays, which is another whole issue because we've got all kinds of things going on with the energy and emotion of the holidays that come up as well. You want to deal with those things. We'll talk about that too as you're going forward. So again, this is the end of this year. The rest of the month, take it light, but it's kind of like you're getting ready, but you're not rushing. And you don't want to make any major changes and shifts when we get to this time. So that's something you don't want to do unless it's absolutely necessary to the end of the year. So a little bit about that. So let's look at 2024. 2024 is very different because 2024 is the 8. Okay, now you notice right away when you look at the 8 that the shape of the 8 is very different than the 7, right? It's very solid. It has that whole different look to it. 8, of course, we think of it as the infinity number. It's a very different feeling than what we would see with the 7. So let's look at the positive and negatives of the 8. So the 8 is very grounded and very balanced. You see, because it has that big base, as opposed to the 7, which has kind of the wobbly, not as grounded feeling. This is about empowerment, self-empowerment, very important for this year. Also business and commerce. So the 8 is very tied to, money, business, building your career, building your business, whatever it is that you're doing. There's a lot of that vibe to the 8. So if that's what you're looking to do this year, this is a great year for that. And 8 year is really good for moving yourself forward. Like I said, but we want to stay grounded and balanced. Now, the negative side of that, it moves us into the dark side of the 8. It's kind of like the dark side, if you're a Star Wars fan, the dark side of the Force, right? The dark side, where you get into the bad side of it. So the negative side of the 8 is greed and control. Now, we know right now, when we look at the world, there's a lot of this going on where we have a lot of people looking to control. There's a lot of greed. It's also high ego and what we would consider to be blind ambition, meaning that I'm going to be successful or get what I want at any cost. And that is one of the elements of this. That's one of the elements of the 8, is that when you get to the dark side, it's like the super ambition and steamroll and just get what you want, and you don't care about anything else or anyone. You're just gonna do your thing. So you have to be careful. And we've seen this throughout history, where you become successful and you start to move into an egoic state and then potentially go down a dark road. So again, it's business, it's commerce, it's empowerment, it's togetherness. It's all wonderful things in the positive side of this year. But on the other side of it, we have to be careful. Again, balance, right? Balance is going to be key. We're going to talk about balance later, but I just want to go there. So also, I'll give you one last thing before we get into our energy work. This year, as I said, is the 8, but you also have a personal year. So the way you get your personal year is you take your birth date and month and add it to the year number. So for example, my birthday is February 4th. So what I would do is I would take 2 plus 4 plus 8, which is the year, equals 14, and bring it down to a single number, which is a 5. So this is a 5 year for me personally. And what I like to do is, if you look this up, you can go online and, of course, search the numbers and what they mean. But a 5 is the number, it's right in the middle of the 9-year cycle, because the numbers run 1 to 9. So the 5 is the number of change. And that's what I am in personally. What I like to do is kind of overlay the year number, which is the 8, and the 5. So it's about commerce, it's about empowerment, it's about all those types of things, and then changes. So that means in my life, personally, there's going to be a lot of changes. I need to be open. So that's also something we also want to be that way anyway. You want to be open to different things and maybe things you didn't think about. But that's a little thing you can do for yourself. So later when we're done, look at your year, your birth date, and your birth month, and then add the year, and then you've got the 14, and that's going to, well, for my case, it's a 14, but bring it down to a single number and then see how that overlays with the 8. It's a little fun thing to do, to kind of look at just getting yourself ready for the year. I like to kind of look at it again. I don't want to carve it in stone and this is it, and you can't do anything, and this is all based on this. This is just something, a tool that we use to kind of get a better insight into what's going on and where we're going, right? That's really what we want to look at. So what will you create in 2024? This is what we really want to talk about here, getting into a new year and looking at what you're going to create. Now, you see that I highlighted the word create in a different color for a reason. You're creating, right? That's why we're here. We're here to create. That's what we do. That's how we operate. That's what it's all about. So the fact that we are here to create, I want you to see yourself that way. I want you to see yourself as the creator, not like it's happening to you, but that you are creating. That is the vibe you want to have. So one of the things I think that's happened to us because of many factors, including society, including how we grew up, including belief systems, it's kind of like we get, oh, we're in the system and I'm trying to do my best and I'm kind of at the mercy of everybody else. That is not the case. That is not the case. You are not at the mercy of everybody else. And that is not, you want to see yourself as powerful. One of the things of this year is empowerment. And you want to see yourself as you have the power to create what you want. That's what you want to look at. You don't want to look at it as I'm giving that up. And that is an important factor as you go forward. So we are going through what we call an ascension process, meaning we are elevating our energy up out of third dimension into fourth and fifth dimension. And when you look at this, if you're looking at our slide here, right? So I'm moving away from the attachment to the physical world and elevating higher really to what we would look at as the greater good. And when we're ascending to higher energy, it's less about us and it's more about everybody, right? It's more about the whole group or the whole world. So that's really what you want to look at as you're going forward in your life. It's about you doing things that are good for yourself, you doing things that are empowering yourself, but you're also realizing you're part of the big picture. And we're getting away from this egoic isolation way of operating. So this is kind of how we are moving forward. So if you notice attachments in any area of your life, then you will know that those are things you want to work on to let go of, because any attachments you have, whether it's to people, titles, money, cars, I don't care what it is, these are things you want to start, not to say you can't have it, you don't want to have the feeling of attachment. That's going to be a big part of how we go forward. So we're going through this process of separation. I know you've probably heard about this. They call it the new earth. That's one of the things that it's been called. And when we get into this world, we're getting into this separation of energies. So I want you to think about it as energy that you're vibrating versus other people. And are you jiving, so to speak, with those people? That's really what you want to look at. You want to look and say, okay, I'm realizing, and more people talk about this to me too, is as they're getting more aware, they say, I'm realizing I'm not jiving with people like I used to. I'm not jiving as much the way I did before. I'm in a different feeling. So I've been calling this for the past couple of years organic separation. And what's happening is we're going through, it's really an organic process where we're separating from people that are not in alignment with our energy. Now, this happens in different ways. It could be natural, where it just happens, right? You have people, they just kind of go out of your life, or they phase out, or they just kind of, things go in a different direction. That happens, or it could be you switched where you were working, or it could be you switched where you lived, or whatever. Where it becomes tricky is when we get into the families and we get into people we've known a long period of time, and we have a certain relationship over a long time, and that energy is no longer in alignment. And it becomes challenging sometimes, because now I realize this is not working, but how do I move myself forward? So you may find yourself right now with a real desire to disconnect from people and situations. And when that happens, it becomes a very difficult, or it could be certainly an emotional thing, especially when we're dealing with family, close friends. Maybe it could be business associates that you know, or people you've worked with for a long period of time. And all of a sudden, there's just like, you just lost it. I have a lot of friends I grew up with. I have a lot of people I know, for a long time. You realize some of them have kind of come along with you. Others have just gone in a different direction. Now, as I said, in certain cases, this is kind of an organic process, which is nice. It just kind of fizzles out or goes in its own direction. But then we get into the other side of it, where you have to actually pull yourself out. And that's where it gets a little more challenging. So if you notice that, and you notice that feeling, and it's really, I kind of look at it and I say to people, okay, can you manage the relationship in a way that it's not causing you distress? That's usually the first thing we try to do. I know that's what I always tried to do. But once I get to a certain point, I have to accept, what, it's not working. I can't do it anymore. And I have to be willing to say, what, it's time for me to walk away from this, or it's time for me to move to a different place. So, and again, it takes courage to do that, because you're moving into a very different area and a very different place in your life. So we want to create now, I think of it as I'm creating at a higher level than before, from when I was younger. And I think we all go through this, it was very tied to physical world goals, or attachments, right? Oh, I wanted to be successful. You wanted to make money. You wanted to buy a certain house. You wanted to get a certain car. You wanted to have a certain title. These were all things that we all aspired to when we were younger. This is kind of how we grew up, right? American dream, buy your house, do your stuff, go out. This was kind of how we all lived. This is how we lived our lives. Now, as you're creating at a higher level, what I want you to do this year is focus on how you want to feel, because that's going to carry a lot more weight than the other side of it, which would be, oh, I want another car. I want that. Again, we live in a physical world. There's nothing wrong with wanting or desiring something in the physical. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, when you have the attachment, it becomes the issue. But what I want you to write down today, and when we're done or when you have some quiet time, is really talk about how do I want to feel when I wake up in the morning? What is the feeling that I want to have when I wake up in the morning? What is the vibe that I want to carry forward? So what you're looking to do is create, but at a higher level, you're creating the vibe as opposed to the thing. It's very different. Now, what happens is when you create the vibe, you get the thing. That's usually how it works, right? I create the energy of peace. I always look at peace. That's my big one, because I want to be at peace. I want to live in a feeling of being at peace. So that's where I want to live. And that's where you want, that to me is, if I'm at peace, that means everything's good, right? That means my health is good. That means my finances are good. That means I'm surrounded by good people. I'm at a state of peace. And that will then manifest in whatever you desire in the physical, but it starts with the feeling. So this is going to be a change for a lot of people, because we get caught up in the goal setting. I want A, B, C, which is fine, but at a higher level, you want to create the feeling. I always like to create the feeling of connection. I always like to, for me personally also, I love to be in the feeling of service. How am I going to help the world be better? And then, of course, I want to receive as well. Again, we're talking about balance a lot here tonight. It doesn't mean I just give and give. I have to receive as well. The universe wants to be balanced. So write down the feelings that you want to create. You can email me those too when we're done. But I want you to kind of think of it a little bit in a different way. So the other big thing as we're going forward for this year is trusting your feelings without judgment. And this is going to be a big deal. Again, a lot of conditioning for us to second guess ourselves because we were not supported emotionally. So I might have had a feeling, or I had an idea, or I had something I wanted to do, but because I was not supported emotionally, or because I felt like I didn't trust myself, or I'm judging myself, which is another terrible thing to do. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I never did this before, all this kind of stuff. So what I want you to do is just allow yourself to trust your feelings. And I want you to absorb that for a second, right? Trust your feelings. Trust how you feel. That is your highest self is always speaking to you that way. Excuse me. So you want to trust how you feel and then go with that. And I know sometimes it could be difficult because maybe you have not been supported in your life. People have not supported what you do or believed in you, or you had a lot of self-doubts. We've all been there. So this is a time to really allow yourself to trust your feelings. And that's going to be a key for this year as we go forward. Like I said, it's about empowerment. It's about, creating that feeling from within yourself. And it's about trust. When you trust yourself, you're going to notice things go into a very different way. So I want to focus the rest of our time here tonight on creating, clearing your energy and balancing your energy. These are two things that are ongoing in our process here in the world and in life. So I want to keep a little focus. Let me jump on with you just for a second. I just want to take a little, this first half, I wanted to kind of focus on all these different things and where we're going. I want to really focus the rest of our time here tonight on balancing your energy and clearing your energy. I want to give you some tools that you're going to be able to use to do that going forward. So let's jump in there and get us moving into that direction. I want to give you some stuff that you can work on as we go forward for this year. So here is the biggie. And this is the one I think that people don't get for whatever reason, which is this: you as a human, you as a being, whatever you want to call it, you require a lot of maintenance. You do. You require a lot of maintenance. This is not a, I want to learn something, I'm going to apply it, and I'm done, and I got my diploma. We as humans, we're very linear in our way of processing and in our way of moving forward. We learn this as kids, right? You go to first grade, you go to second grade, you go to third grade, you go to college, you get a diploma, you get a degree. This is kind of how we function. But in life, we're in an ongoing process here. And it requires a lot of maintenance and energy to keep yourself moving forward. So what I want to focus on here is, how do we do this at the highest level as we're going into higher frequencies? Here's the good news. We're moving into higher frequency. We've been moving into it, but now we're really going into high energy. These things are easier to do than they used to be, because the negative resistant energy is not as strong as it used to be. So that's the good news. Still requires your effort, because if you don't put your energy into it and your effort, it's not going to work out. So your energy sits in your chakra system. For those of you not familiar, your chakras are energy points in the body. They start to develop from the base of your spine. They go to the crown of your head. There are 7 main chakras. I learned an 8th one called the moon center, which you can see on this graphic. And this is kind of the engine. So I want you to think of your energy, or your energy field, or your chakra system. This is your engine of who you are. This is the engine for you. So all this energy is sitting there. This is why you are going to feel certain things at different points of your body. When something happens, you feel it in your throat, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your, you feel it in the base of your spine, you feel it in your back. These are energy points where the energy is sitting. So this engine, we want this engine to run cleanly. So your chakras spin in a clockwise direction. So they're spinning, think of it, it's like they're just spinning and spinning. And when they are blocked up or clogged up, they are not spinning efficiently. It's kind of like gears. They're working together. They're spinning, or they're not, right? They're spinning, they're spinning, they're spinning. And I've got clogs in some of them. They're not working at an efficient level, which is where we want them to be. So what we want to do, first of all, is again, it's like your car, right? You bring your car in for an oil change, you bring your car in for a tune-up, you get your computer, you get your updates. This is the same idea. We want to do that. So I want to talk to you now. We're going to talk about balancing your energy on a regular basis. The reason this is very important is, if I keep my energy balanced every day, and listen, life happens, things happen, issues happen. We know how it is, right? You go out of balance. It happens to all of us. Someone gets sick, someone dies, something happens, you have an issue with somebody, these things happen. But overall, we want to maintain balance most of the time. And as long as we're able to do that, it's going to make your life a lot easier as you go forward. So much of this is tied into what you do every day. So when you look at your life, or you look at other people, and you see people, obviously we all do this. Obviously, I'm not supposed to be judging, but you know what I mean? We look at people. Your daily routine becomes a very important part of your life, because your daily routine creates that consistency. So if you look at people, they're a reflection of what they do on a consistent basis. So let's talk about some keys to success here in the physical. So let's first talk about your physical self. We'll get to your emotional and spiritual self, but let's talk about your physical self. So from a physical perspective, meditation and quiet time is important. You may not think of that as a physical. You may say, that's a mental, or that's a spiritual, or that's an emotional, which it is, but critically important to your physical self. Because the more you're calm, the more you're aligned, the more your energy feels good. That affects your physical body in a tremendous way. So I want you to understand that. So that ability, so every morning, I always get up, I do a meditation. Now I will tell you, there's certain days I get up, my meditation is long and I'm really into it and I really zone in. Other days it's short. It may be 5 minutes, it may be 10 minutes, or I may take some quiet time later in the day, whatever it looks like, but it's consistency. It's not necessarily the length of time. So make sure every day, especially, I love it when you first start the day, to start calm. How many people get out of bed, look at the clocks, or running in the shower, or running out the door? Your whole day is disrupted already. So again, we're talking about consistency. There are days that it happens, you run out the door. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Now, in higher energy, we want to eat less. We want to eat clean. You don't need as much food in higher vibration. So you should not, it's not necessary for you to eat as much. If you notice that you're eating because you're stressed or you're distressed and that's creating a problem for you, that's going to cause other health issues. That's not what you want. You don't need as much food. Also, eat clean. Listen, nobody loves an ice cream cone more than me or a cookie, believe me. But overall, try to eat it clean for the most part. Meaning I'm eating light, you're eating high protein, you're eating fruits and vegetables. You're not salads, whatever the case. You want to stay in a clean diet and don't eat just what you need. It's the old story, right? Eat to live, not live to eat. So eat less. Drugs and alcohol, very disruptive to your energy field. Again, not saying you want to have a glass of wine once in a while. You want to have a drink. It's not the end of the world. Drugs obviously do a lot of damage. It's something that you want to certainly curtail at best. You don't want to overdo it. But these are things that, again, disrupt your flow of energy. And of course, exercise and even just simple stretching. That's why, yoga, people love yoga. My wife's a big yoga person. I usually try to go once a week with her. But the exercise on a daily basis, it keeps your energy moving in a positive direction and flowing. So these are things that you want to say, am I doing these things on a daily basis? Am I getting quiet? Am I eating a good diet? Am I not overindulging? Am I getting some exercise in? So let's look at this now from the emotional side. The one thing that's important is you want to monitor your thoughts and your focus, right? You have to remember something. Your energy is non-judgmental. So what it does is it's feeding off what you're focusing on. So this is important. So this is something you have to be aware of, and you have to be the police, right? To say, where am I focusing? Where am I focusing? Again, a lot of times it just naturally happens. You just drift off into a negative place. A big part of this is the information that you're bringing into your life on a daily basis. So when I see people, they're watching all the news, they're getting all upset, they're all flustered, they're frustrated all the time. If you want to be up to date, that's great. You want to watch the news, you want to see what's going on. But nowadays, because of the phones, because of all this nonstop barrage of information, social media, videos, TikToks, whatever everybody's doing, what you're absorbing goes into your energy field. So if you're watching videos that are upsetting, or if you're watching people, there's a lot of violence out there too. People falling, people are getting hurt. There's a lot of disruptive stuff. You have to be aware and say to yourself, what am I absorbing all day? Am I absorbing things that make me feel good? And listen, obviously we keep up to date. Something happens that's upsetting. It happens to everybody, but I don't want to barrage myself all day. I don't want to barrage myself with this negative energy and these negative feelings all the time. It's going to keep you upset. So again, be aware and focus on what you desire. Stay focused. This is what I want to create. Again, your focus is toward your creation. That's what you're looking to do. So focus on what you desire. Focus on what you are going to create. Focus on peace. Focus on love. Focus on positivity. Again, you're dealing with issues because we're humans. It's all part of it. But that is a critical piece. But as I said, this world that we're in with a constant influx of all kinds of stuff coming at us, we've got to shut this down or certainly curtail it. Also, you're going to walk the walk. I could sit here and talk about this all day, but the bottom line is you have to, you're walking the walk. It's not just like, oh yeah, I read a few books, or yeah, I would like to live that way, or I'd like to be healthier, or I'd like to feel better, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not walking the walk. So you want to walk the walk. If this is the life you want to have, if you want to go in this direction, it's being true to who you are and what it is you want to create. Calmness is very important, staying in a calm state, because not getting all flustered or bent out of shape, which of course could also be tied to being around a lot of negative people, absorbing a lot of negative information. That could upset your energy field very much. And then finally, which we're going to get into the energy clearing portion here, you want to deal with energies quickly. You want to deal with issues and energy. So something comes up that's upsetting, and listen, we're people, it's going to happen. I don't care who you are. It happened to every person. Jesus, it happened to Buddha, it happened to Moses, it happened to Gandhi, it happened to everybody. things are going to come up. We want to learn, how do I deal with this quickly so I get it out of my system? I don't want to carry it, because if I carry it, it's going to cause me a lot of pain. So let's focus the time we have left on clearing your energy. All right. So I want to talk about this because this is a process. Again, as I said earlier, part of your maintenance program is clearing your energy on a regular basis. This is what's going to get you to the promised land, is going to be, I'm maintaining my balance, and now I'm clearing my energy as I go forward. So I'm going to talk to you about the different levels of energy clearing that we have. So this is the way I like to look at it. I like to break things down. It makes it easier for me to understand. So the first one is daily adjustments. So every day, I always say school's open, right? You get up in the morning, school's open, things are going to happen. You want to be aware of how you feel and then adjust accordingly. Those are your daily adjustments that you make. So you say, wow, this is upsetting me. This is bothering me. It might not be the end of the world, but you say, I need to make an adjustment there. I need to make a tweak there. I need to kind of take that a little bit of a different direction. I need to handle that situation differently. I may need to move away from a certain person. These are daily adjustments that we make. This is all, because really this is a game of attrition. This is a game of, I play the long game. I work on myself all the time. I'm building momentum and I'm building more energy. That's what we're looking to do as we go forward. So that's how it works. The other clearings that we're working on a regular basis are old habits, because we've all picked up and established some old habits based on how we grew up, what we did, how we, just how we see the world, how we operate, how we work. We all have them. They're part of, they're part of who we are. We want to be aware of the ones that are not great and start working on clearing them out. The other one is going to be old beliefs. They're kind of like the old habits, but, again, we grew up, no matter what you think, what happened to you when you were very young, these old beliefs are in there. These old beliefs are part of who we are. We grew up with a certain religion. We grew up with certain beliefs about money. We grew up with certain beliefs about relationships. We grew up with all these different beliefs that you've probably worked through some of them over the years, right? You've worked through them. You've worked on yourself. But it's a nonstop game, because there's always energy to clear as long as we're here in the physical world and in human form. So we know that as we go forward. And finally, the big daddy is the deep karmic issues that you came to work on. Those are the most challenging. Those are the deepest. Those are your core, what we would call root chakra, base chakra issues. These are things that in this lifetime you came to work on. So those are the 4 levels of clearing that we are working on a regular basis, again, depending on how deep you want to go and the kind of work that you've done. So let's talk about a process. So one of the things, when I started doing this years ago, I would learn all this information. I would say, well, this is good, but how do I apply it? I need a process, because we love a process. Humans me too. We all like to have, I love to have that's why we like steps. Oh, these are the 5 steps to do this, or the 3 steps to do that. I'm always watching videos. I'm not a handy person, so I love to, if I have to do something in the house, I'll watch a video on how to, fix the drain or whatever it is. And other guys, okay, do this first, do this second, do this. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I can do it. So it's the same idea. I want to have a process to how I can go forward and how I can make this happen. So the one thing we don't understand in the process is this. So your brain and your brain or your mind and your heart kind of go through a little battleground. That's kind of what happens here for us. Your mind wants everything to make sense, and your mind wants everything to be linear. Okay, I go from here to there. This is how it works. Now, unfortunately, the world does not work like that. There are times when using your mind is very good, but really what we want to understand is my emotion is the key, because your emotions drive that chakra system and your emotions drive your energy. So that's really what you want to look at as you're going forward. So your mind will come in and overthink and block your flow of energy. Your mind is there just to use as a tool. Don't overdo it, because it's going to cause you trouble and it's going to cause you problems. So I'm going to go take you through some steps here that you're going to be able to use. And I'm going to take you through 5 steps. You could use these every single day, and this is going to help you work on your energy. I'm going to talk to you when we're done about a program I'm doing to go deeper. But this is going to be stuff, tools. Like I said, I promised you, I want to make sure I give you some tools that you can use to go forward. So the first thing is, which I was just talking about, everything is emotional. You have to understand that. So whatever's happening in your life, this is why you go crazy, right? Because you say, I did everything right. I went through this with my bankruptcies. I'm like, I did everything right. I read the books. I wrote my goals down. I worked 70 hours a week, blah, blah, blah. I did all this stuff. Why isn't it working? Or you could say, well, I tried everything to lose weight. I tried everything to get in a good relationship. I did all the steps. I read books. I did all, it's not working. Why is it not working? Because it's an emotional thing that needs to be cleared. So that is the first part of the game. And that's why we drive ourselves crazy, because the mental part of us can't accept it. It's like, I don't get it. I did everything. Why is it not working? Believe me, I was the most stubborn person in the world. I think I still am to a large degree, but it's kind of like saying everything is emotional. And because everything is emotional, I want to understand that it's not about, doesn't mean I don't have to do anything, but I need to be aligned in order for it to work correctly. So that's the first thing. So just be aware that everything is emotional. Now, secondly, what are you feeling? So this is the big piece of the puzzle. So what happens for us is we never learned how to process the emotion correctly so we could get past it. And that's where we get stuck. So being tuned into what you're feeling is critical to your next step. So the idea is when something happens or something comes into your consciousness or your awareness, and you have an emotion, you have a feeling, right? That you could be, you're angry, you're pissed off, you're disgusted, you're annoyed, whatever you want to call it. That is not what the feeling, that's not actually what's happening. That's just getting your attention. So whatever happens first. So for example, somebody says something, you don't get you don't get something at work. You're supposed to get it. They didn't give it to you. Somebody makes a comment to you that gets you upset. These are all things that trigger us, but they're designed, and actually you're creating that, by the way. I know it's hard. Take a moment on that one. You're creating it in the physical world to bring it into your awareness. Okay, that's what's going on. So you have a feeling that's going out there, right? That happens, and then it hits you. You have to say to yourself, what we do is we say, oh, I got this feeling. I'm annoyed. I'm aggravated, or whatever the case may be, right? I'm whatever I am. Then we usually have a reaction to that feeling. And then I keep myself stuck in the cycle because I never dealt with it. So what we want to learn to do is go underneath the feeling into the true emotion that's there. So what does that mean? Okay, something happens, you're annoyed. So I'll give you an example. We have somebody, I worked with so many people over the years, but I had one guy I had worked with years ago. He was very big on doing favors for everybody. He was always, that was his thing. So again, conditioning. My conditioning is I do favors for everybody. That makes me a good person. That's his belief system. Right? We talked about beliefs, old habits. That's what he did. That was his thing. So he would do all these things, and then people wouldn't appreciate it. People wouldn't say thank you. People wouldn't do that, and he would be all angry about it, and he would be all annoyed about it because he'd say, "Look, I did all these wonderful things. I'd help these people out. Nobody even says thank you." Now, what I said to him was, "You don't want them to say thank you, because that's the feeling you never resolved. And your higher self is saying, you're going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep bringing you these situations because you're not dealing with the feeling." So the true emotion for him was he did not feel appreciated, right? That was the feeling. And that went back to his childhood, and that went back to his karma that he came here to resolve. So in his brain, he's saying, well, I'm trying to get appreciated. So if I do things for people, they will appreciate me. And then when they don't, I get angry and I get stuck in this negative cycle. And then I act out, or then I drink, or then I do something else. And it just starts over again. And that's what we call being trapped on the karmic wheel. That's the wheel. So what I showed how to do yet, identify that emotion. Do not, okay, look at it number 4. Do not project the anger out. Do not project it on other people, situations, circumstances, the economy, the president. I don't care who it is. The minute you project the anger outside of yourself, it doesn't work, because you project the anger outside and you didn't deal with it. So the final step, so we have understand everything's emotional. 1. 2, be aware of what you're feeling. 3, identify the true emotion. What are you really feeling? You want to sit down. I always tell clients when I work with them, I say, sit down, keep an emotional journal. Write these things down. Write your feelings down. It helps you start to open up these doors. Then don't project the anger, step 4, on other people. Don't put it out on me. Don't blame me. It's your issue. See, when you blame me and you push it out, you don't deal with it. And finally, the way you clear the energy, this is going to sound really simple, but it is not simple to do. It is challenging to do it. It may sound simple. What you're going to do is you're going to allow yourself to feel the emotion. Okay, that's the game. So, but I'm not feeling the anger, which was the first feeling, which we talked about. The true emotion in the example I gave you was I feel unappreciated. I need to feel the pain of being, now I'm not saying you have to do this for 10 years, but just let yourself feel it so you can let it go. Now, it may sound like, oh, okay, that sounds, but it's not as easy as you think because we're not trained or conditioned to do it. We're not trained. So nobody taught us how to do this. And let me tell you, it was really difficult. Even me, I work on it every day because it's like, oh, okay, just feel that, just feel that. And it starts to get easier as you go. But in the beginning, that's the hardest part of it. And this is where you start to really accelerate yourself because you start dealing with these things very quickly and just letting the energy go. And then right away, the minute you let it go, your vibration elevates. And that's the game. And that's what we're looking to do. And that's how you're going to play in 2023, the rest of this year and next year and beyond. It's not just that. You're going to keep doing it. This is part of your maintenance program that we're talking about. So feeling that feeling releases the energy. Now, this is the thing that people kind of miss on this. People say, oh, I don't want to feel that negative. If I feel that negative feeling or unappreciated, it's going to take me down to a worse place. It's actually the opposite. It's kind of counterintuitive because our brains tell us, well, if I feel unappreciated, I'm going to bring in more of that. But what's actually happening is because you're resisting the fact that you do feel unappreciated is why you're bringing in more of it. The minute you acknowledge it and you flush it out just by feeling it and just saying to yourself, yeah, okay, I'm going to let myself feel that feeling, then you get it out of your system. So ultimately, the goal of all this is to get aligned. The more you balance your energy on a daily basis, the more you deal with your feelings and your energy as you go through and clear your energy, the more you do this, the more you stay in a good alignment. This is where we talk about being in a state of flow. Things are moving in a good direction. This is where you want to go. This is the direction you want to go in. So that is how we do it. But it is a daily, the reason I say this to people all the time, it's like anything else. It's a daily maintenance program. It's not about saying, I got the magic bullet. When I see people, everybody, whatever they're doing, God bless you. But when I see people telling people, this is the one thing, do this one thing, that is not how life works. And, those of us who've been beat up, which is probably, I'm sure everybody who's on here with me, those of us who've been beat up, we know that it's an ongoing game. And the more tools I have and the skill set that I have to deal with it, that's going to make your life a lot easier as you go forward. So if anyone has questions, there's a chat there. You can chat directly to me so nobody will see your name and put them in there. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'm going to go through a couple of things here before we finish up our evening, but let me just tell you about this program. Like I said, that's coming up. I call it now, for those of you, I wrote a book, for those of you who know me, called Karma Buster, came out a while ago. It's actually been one of my highest selling books, that and spiritual selling. But I have a new Karma Buster energy clearing and empowerment program that I'm going to be doing starting in January. So I wanted to let all this energy clear, obviously let the holidays go by, let all this stuff pass before we get started. And this is going to include 4 webinars. We're going to do live webinars just like this. We're going to also record each one, so you'll have the recordings. I'm going to send you my Karma Buster home study course, which is also, it's a $399 value. I'll send you a copy of the Karma Buster ebook, so you have the book as well, and you'll get, again, all the sessions that we do. And also, what I'm going to offer for this program is unlimited email support with me. so that if you have questions, because you're going to have questions as you go through the process, then you can email me those questions throughout the program. So that to me is valuable, because it's going to be able to help you, because I want to make sure that you get this as we go forward. So we're going to start this in January on the 23rd. We're going to do 4 sessions. The first one's going to be the purpose your karma serves and how it was created. So this is important to understand your roadmap, because when you understand your roadmap, it really helps you moving your life forward, and you understand what's going on and what issues and obstacles you came to deal with in this lifetime. So that's an important thing. Then we're going to go into the next one, how to get off the wheel. I was just talking about that cycle, or that negative wheel that we're on, and we go around and around. We want to get off that. And we'll also go into the first energy clearing process that I'm going to take you through to a deeper version of what I just showed you, but I'll take you through a deeper version of that. We'll have more time. The third session, we're going to go through resetting your energy to higher frequency so you could attract what you desire. So as we're clearing, we need to reset the energy field so I can align with what I want to create. We're going to do that as well. And finally, we're going to go through on the final session, we'll go through an advanced energy clearing process. So the advanced process, what I just talked to you about, was really about dealing with issues that happen. What we really want to do is we want to not have them happen. So that's the advanced process, where we actually circumvent that, and we have what I call a preemptive strike. So take a look. I have all the info at karmabuster.com. There's a special early registration discount, but I want to thank you for being with me on this session. And there's an additional $100 off when you go on there. Use the coupon code 2024. When you open up, there's a little box. You just put that in the box and hit it. It'll apply. It'll take an extra 100 off the already discounted offer. I'm going to have a limited number of spots because I have to support everybody with email. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, certainly please feel free to email me if you have a question about anything that's going on. So if anyone has any questions, please shoot them to me in the chat. I think I got a couple coming in. Let me just get down there. I'm getting happy holidays. Thank you. I always love those happy holiday messages. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Randy. Good to hear from you. Thank you so much. I hope, like I said, I hope that tonight was a good session for everybody. You got a chance to get a little deeper understanding of what's going on and looking forward. Thank you once again, Francis, my friend. Happy holidays to you as well. I want to thank everybody for being here. I know everyone's got a lot going on, and we're right before the holidays, so I appreciate your time. I'm going to have this recording ready. I'll send it out by tomorrow. You'll be able to take a look at it again if you want to go through some of the stuff that we talked about here tonight, or kind of hear some of it over again and again. Go to karmabuster.com. Check that out. If you have any questions, like I said, send me an email. I do have a couple. Let me see another. Kate, thank you, Kate. Great help today, Joe. I got a question here. So this is a good question from Lisa. How do you handle the hot adrenaline when someone hurts you? That's a really good question. It's one of those things that it's difficult. I will tell you that, when something happens on the spot that really triggers you, it really could be challenging. The best thing I would say, when you have that hot emotion or that hot thing that really triggers you, take a beat, take a breath, and say, what's really happening here? And if I react emotionally, I'm not dealing with the issue. So it's almost like conditioning yourself, say, what, and I know sometimes it's hard in a minute when you're upset or when you get yourself into that space, but it's one of those things where as you elevate and your energy is more calm, what'll happen here, and this is, Lisa, this is a good question, and this is something I've seen in myself and others, like I handle it better because I'm not in a distressed state, because my energy field is in a much better state. So it allows me, because I'm holding a much better vibration, it allows me to do that in a higher way and not have that overreaction as I would normally have. But again, it takes time to get there. But once you start clearing, that adrenaline starts to drop, and you notice that you'll start to deal with things at a much higher level. Joanne is going to be coming over here. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you when you come. Leslie, thank you. Sabrina, my good friend. Good to see everybody here. A lot of my good buddies are here today. So, and that is, Sabrina said, great question, Lisa. That is a great question. So I want to thank everybody once again for being here. I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you in 2024. And like I said, take a look at Karma Buster. We'd love to get you set up and get you moving forward for the year. So be blessed, everybody. Have a wonderful month. Have a wonderful month of December and getting ourselves ready for next year. Also, I did get a few questions about the numbers of your year. Go online and look up if you have questions about the numbers, just go in and put in, meaning of number 4 or spiritual meaning, and you'll get a lot of info on the numbers. So that'll help you. I'm going to go through that actually in this program in more detail. But if you just want to check it out, you can do that. So take care, everybody. Be blessed. Thanks again for being here.